This is a special podcast presentation from 700WLW.com. This is Daryl Parks On Demand.
The battle is going on as we speak. Coming up on November 2nd, the important things to pay attention to are not these clowns that are running for office. The important things to pay attention to are things like tax levies. We must remain vigilant. A person who is using that cry in the Lakota School District is Rich Hoffman, and Rich joins me this morning. How you doing, Rich?
Oh, great. Fantastic. It's a beautiful day out here in Lakota land.
All right, so it is your quest to defeat this levy. Why?
Because it's very, not very often does something come along that is so wrong that is obvious to everybody. And the kind of budget that they're working with and what they're asking for is clearly wrong.
But, Rich, it's about the children.
Yeah, sure it is. If it was about the children, they wouldn't be threatened to cut busing at the first sign of trouble, and they would.
Well, what that does is inconvenience the parents.
That's exactly what it's all about. It's all about money and security and protecting the people at the top.
All right, now, Rich, I'm going to play devil's advocate with you here, and I'm just going to throw a couple of things out. Now, in Lakota, this is only going to add $242 annually to a per $100,000 in value of a house. It's only
right.
$242, Rich.
It's still a tax, and it's irresponsible spending of money. And if you give it to them, you're endorsing the behavior.
Well, I got to tell you, I was looking in the paper this morning at some homes in the Lakota School District, and I came across numerous houses that were close to 600 Gs.
Right.
So it's not only $242.
Oh, no.
Now, also, Lakota Education Association approved an agreement in August in which teachers agreed to a pay freeze and health insurance increases. So
right.
they're taking this serious. The teachers.
Well, they're only doing it because they realize that there's trouble. That it's the community's in trouble, and it's a nice way to make it look like they're doing everything they could. What they should have done is make those kinds of changes 4 or 5 years ago when they were operating with a surplus.
Well, it's been numerous times over the past decades, and I say decades plural, that the way school funding in the state of Ohio has been declared unconstitutional.
Right.
It's an article this past week in the paper about this being a big difference between both candidates for governor in the state of Ohio, and it's interesting when you read the article, both say nothing.
Right.
You know, one has a proposal, meaning the current governor Strickland has a proposal, but it's unfunded, so that means nothing. And then Kasich has all he's doing is pointing fingers at Strickland, so he has no idea as well. So pretty much status quo is going to continue with whoever is the governor come January.
Well, it will until they face what happens in November, which is all these levies are going to fail, and it's going to be put on the front burner, and people are going to have to talk about it. Because it's not just going to be Lakota. There's going to be a lot of these levies are going to fail. The funding issue is going to get kicked back up to the governor, which it most likely won't be Strickland, and it's going to have to be addressed because, like you said, it's unconstitutional. It has to be dealt with, and if everybody just keeps passing these levies, and the local communities just keep bailing out the state level, no one's ever going to deal with it up there.
Yeah, Rich, as you know, I have that catchphrase: if you vote for a school levy, you're stupid.
Yeah.
And really, you touched on the big point here. If you continually vote for these levies and continually vote to increase your taxes, nothing will be done in Columbus on this.
Right. You're just bailing them out. You're giving them a free pass. Just keep doing business as usual. And the criticism I'm getting, when you put yourself out there on the front like this, of course, you're going to be a focal point for a lot of the pro-levy enthusiasts and the leadership and unions. They're going to target you and they're going to come after you because they want the status quo, of course, proceed because it's a good thing for them. But this is more than a vote for your local community. This is a vote actually at the state level to reject their funding model and to send it back to them to fix.
And that's what it's all about. And you touched on the teachers unions and how powerful this is. I'm going to put it in a different way. Public education is big business.
Tremendous business. Absolutely.
Hundreds of millions and billions of dollars are being poured into this, and the inefficiencies are so obvious. What are some of the inefficiencies that you have found in Lakota?
Oh, the inefficiencies. Lakota's operating, as they claim, at a savings in several respects. It's not so much you have to dig in and find out how much they're paying for all their textbooks and how much they're paying for. The inefficiencies more come out in the staffing that they have. You have people who might be paid $75,000 to do a job where you can consolidate that job with other jobs. That's where your inefficiencies are, mainly. Mike Taylor will come out and say that they're saving money here and saving money there, and we hear reports that he's going into classrooms and turn off fans, to make it cosmetically look like they're saving money. But the problem is the staff at such an incredible level that and each one of those people make a decent amount of money. Mm-hmm. That's where your inefficiencies are, because it inflates your budget where you can't sustain it.
Well, Rich, I put on my blog a link to your website where you have done the research, and you have found it's over 400 individuals in the Lakota School District, many making over 100 Gs, many making over 90 Gs a year.
Yeah. That's their problem, and it's good and swell if they can make that kind of money, and that's a nice thing to be able to go get a doctorate degree and reside at Lakota for a 30-year period of time. But the problem is that there's no salary cap to the whole deal. Everybody has a free opportunity to go and get master's and doctorate degrees, and then you get paid accordingly from the union based on that, and then that money gets funded, of course, from the taxpayer. But we really don't. There's no decision making on whether we really need everybody to have a doctorate degree or whether we need everybody to have a master's degree, and whether we can actually afford that kind of luxury. That's kind of the problem. Is there's nobody running the ship. It's just, hey, they went and got a doctorate degree, so they deserve this much money.
Yeah. Now, Rich, many school districts, the teachers or the teachers union will say that the teachers had not received raises. And then you ask them about a step raise,
right,
and they kind of avoid that question. So to make it clear for voters, what's the difference between a raise and a step raise?
Well,
I should say a step increase.
A step increase is something that they're guaranteed by the contract. So, based on what you get, your year of tenure and what your level of education is and that kind of thing, you still get that. And for instance, when I was on Scott's show on Monday, before I went on, I was corrected by somebody else who had done some research. The projected average salary was $59,000 a year for the average Lakota student or teacher. Yeah. And that was based on early 2010 numbers. And what we have now, after the years began, we have new numbers coming in, and that average shot up to $62,000 a year. And accordingly, they didn't have nobody had a raise, of course, but it's these step increases that have shot that up and made that, $3,000 more a year per teacher.
Yeah, look, I think being a teacher is a wonderful profession. This is not about me kicking around teachers. This is not about me kicking around school districts. School districts are very important. It is just that change has to happen in this state, where you can go back to the 1930s, where the funding model for the state of Ohio for schools was ruled unconstitutional. It has been that long, and that shocks a lot of people when I tell them that. Right. And that the people that have been elected have been bought and paid for by teachers unions. They have been bought and paid for by special interest groups, and they refuse, even though it has been ruled unconstitutional in a court of law, the Ohio Supreme Court, they refuse to make the changes to this funding model that depends on property taxes.
Right, and they'll keep doing that. They will ignore it until it becomes a serious issue where a big school like Lakota, it has a big chip on the table, being that it's one of the largest districts in the entire state, and it's the only district that has an excellent rating for 9 years in a row. It's the largest school district that does that. And that's something to be proud of, and that's something that the community produced. I hate to see the school system, they work for us. We put the kids, we're the ones that really should take the credit for how successful those kids are.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, the state of Ohio uses Lakota to, as a model for what it's doing right. And as long as we keep bailing them out at the local level, they're going to continue to operate like that at an unconstitutional mandate for funding.
Yeah. Now, Rich, are you a product of the public school system?
Yeah.
All right. So am I.
I went to Lakota.
I'm sorry?
I went to Lakota.
Okay, so I mean, this is not something. You're not a carpetbagger that has moved to Westchester. You're not a person that was educated in a parochial school system. You actually have skin in this game.
Absolutely,
as a taxpayer too.
A long time.
Yeah. All right. So what's your website there, Rich?
NoLakotaLevy.com.
All right. Be vigilant. This is the important stuff. It's not only in Lakota, it's in Mason, it's in Little Miami, it's in every school district across Ohio. This is the important stuff you have to pay attention to when it comes to Election Day.
Right. If you don't have the guts to do this, and something that's important in your own backyard, then you don't really have a right to say anything about things at the state and federal level.
Hey, are you taking a lot of heat? Because, I mean, look, you're getting a lot of publicity. You got publicity here on the big one. You're in the paper. You have the website going. You're being quoted in numerous publications. So, I mean, are you getting any nasty calls or anything?
Not calls, but yeah, I'm getting a lot of heat. And I knew that going into it. And one of the reasons that I'm the spokesman is because I really don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It bothers a lot of the other folks that are in our group, and we have quite a few people in our group, but it doesn't bother me one bit.
All right. So, you have kids?
Yeah, I have kids.
And you have kids that go to Lakota?
They graduated last year. And,
okay.
And for the record, I was against it in 2005 when they were there, and I got a lot of heat then too.
All right.
But it's for the same reasons.
Okay. Well, Rich, you have yourself a wonderful weekend. It's NoLakotaLevy.com.
Exactly.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Thanks.
Remain vigilant. It's amazing when it comes to these levies. Back when the Forest Hill School levy went down to defeat, I was walking my dog through my neighborhood, and this woman comes on running out of her house, and she says, whispering to me, I want to thank you for what you did. I want to thank you. I can't let any of the neighbors know that I was against the levy as well. And I'm like, why are you whispering? Why? It's okay to have a voice. It is. 18 after 10 on the big one, 700 WLW. To Lebanon we go. Here is Sandra, the levy killer, 700 WLW.
Hi, Daryl. I'm glad you're covering this subject again. I think my point today is going to be that people should realize that the most powerful union in the country controls our schools, and they give a lot of money to candidates. And, in fact, in the 2008 election, they gave $77 million.
See, that's what a lot of people don't realize as well, is that as you mentioned, you're talking about the teachers union.
Right.
The teachers union funds these candidates that will be, in many cases, they're teachers that will take their place on the school board, so they vote in the way that the teachers union wants them to vote.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And the payoff of that $77 million contribution was $100 billion in stimulus funds that was directed specifically to the schools and salaries. Recently, our president gave $26 billion additional that had to be used for union salaries. And Lakota's share of that money, and it has to be used only for salaries, is about $2.5 million. Our city, Lebanon, gets $850,000. And they're not mentioning that when they go after these levies. They're just acting like they're just poor, poor, poor.
Well, it's free money.
Right.
It's free money. When you get free money like that, and it's like it's not our money, right? But when these districts or whether it's or it's a state that's broke or it's a county, it's free money, and then they act like there's always going to be someone there to bail them out for their irresponsibility.
And no one holds them accountable.
No.
No one's looking at the books. It's just ludicrous.
Sandra, I made comment already last hour, and a couple of weeks ago, there was a quote in the paper from, I believe it was the superintendent of the Little Miami school, saying that the control board that took over that school district because they ran it irresponsibly, he said the control board says, we were doing a good job. What do you mean you were doing a good job? You're broke.
I think the people in Little Miami finally got wise to what they're doing, because 80 to 85% of the average budget is going for salaries, and they're asking us to sacrifice $20 a week. Why don't they sacrifice $20 a week?
Well, that news report someone tipped me off on, that was on Fox 19, where the reporter does the ending of the story about the levy in Lakota, saying, hey, it's only going to raise the taxes $20 per month on a $100,000 assessment. And that's how they try to fool people. And people say, well, $20, I can afford $20.
Well,
but that's a month.
People should realize that these levies are orchestrated at the state level. They don't want the schools to have a penny less in any district than they can get out of the taxpayers.
That's
because
right.
the more money they make, the more powerful their union is, and people should just really wake up to that. We're suffering. I think they lost over 1,000 homes in our area last year. And
what do you mean,
they don't
foreclosure?
even take that into consideration. We lost about 10,000 jobs just at DHL alone.
You mean in foreclosure?
In foreclosure.
Right.
And the paper is just pages and pages every week, our little local paper of people's houses on the auction block. Mm-hmm. I mean, where is their common sense?
Well, there's no common sense, and we already used the word responsibility a couple of times, and there's no accountability, there's no responsibility, and there's no one held to accountability when it comes to any public sector government entity. No accountability. Oh, by the way, I was on a corporate call this week. Here's a new corporate buzzword: positivity. Positivity. It's 18 past 10, 700 WLW. Fox 19 Storm Tracker forecast from Chief Meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer for Oktoberfest weekend. Sunny and nice today, 84. Partly cloudy, cool tonight, 57. Tomorrow, partly cloudy, occasionally mostly cloudy, a few sprinkles, maybe a light shower in the afternoon. Warm with a high of 85 for the Bengals game, 65 at 700 WLW. Go to my blog, 700WLW.com. A fellow wrote in who is just an absolute levy killer for Lakota schools, and I have his links there, including his manifesto. And I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. He's got a lot of great points. And it goes on for a number of pages. Also included there the pay rates for the top 434 teachers at Lakota schools. And he has a great point about that as well. But one of the paragraphs in this, the U.S. government is the largest employer in the United States, hiring about 2% of the nation's workforce. And the workforce is expanding significantly due to healthcare reform, insourcing, and many new regulatory programs. Federal jobs can be found in every state and large metropolitan area, including overseas in about 200 countries. The average federal worker's compensation, including pay and benefits, now exceeds $120,000. It's $119,982, so about $120,000, compared with just $59,909 for the private sector, according to the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. And he's dovetailing on one of my comments. He says, "Isn't that stupid? How did the American people allow this to happen?" Good morning, Miss C.
Good morning, Mr. Parks.
How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Good.
I wanted to speak on the school levies. I love this topic, and I love your attitude about it. It's awesome to see somebody say no more.
You're agreeing with me?
Man.
What happened to her? Miss C, call back. Sorry. What happened to Miss C? This could have been a first. Miss C agreeing with me. Although she agrees with us more often than people realize. All right, let's see.